Okay, the second round of the NBA playoffs is already here. I mean, it feels like it only started a couple days ago, but we're already into the second round. We only have one more game left, which is Dallas versus the Clippers. As of recording, it's going to be Game 7 tomorrow, so we're just going to have to guess who wins that one. So the very first prediction we're going to make is the Jazz versus the winner of the Clippers or Dallas. I'm going to be taking the Clippers to go through against Dallas, so it's going to be Jazz versus Clippers for me. And you know what? I think, and it hurts me to say this because the Clippers suck so bad in this series right now, but I think the Clippers beat out the Jazz. I think if they squeeze out this win against Dallas, they're going to be like, okay, this is probably like the hardest fought matchup we've had. We cannot go out in the second round now. So I believe, they don't have a Luka type player in the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell is good, but he is no Luka Doncic. And I think it'll be an easier matchup with them, especially, having to handle Rudy Gobert. I don't think he's particularly difficult, especially when you have great defensive players, or supposedly great defensive players, in the Clippers. So that's who I'm taking. I'm going with the Clippers against the Jazz. I'm going with the Clippers win. Gabo, what do you think?
I honestly agree with almost everything there. Whoever is the winner of tonight's match is gonna beat the Jazz, in my opinion. But I will go with the Mavs that take the game. Sorry, Seth.
Ooh, the Mavs, nice. I like that.
I just see Luka stepping up once again.
Yeah.
Those step backs, 3-pointers, they're just beautiful to watch. So I just see them taking over to this game. And again, you mentioned Donovan's great, but he ain't no Luka.
Yeah.
And Luka's just gonna steamroll over. I think it's gonna be an easier series. Than this one, so I'm might say even 5 games or 6 at the tops. I'll just say 4-2 Mavericks.
Yep, nice. Seb, what about you?
Damn, that's a bold prediction. I can't not take my Clippers to beat the Mavs tonight. And then I can't not take my Clippers to beat the Jazz. I mean, come on. I agree with a lot of what Dan said, to be honest. I do think that this series is going to be a bit of a wake-up call.
Yep.
We've been pushed far more than we really should have been, considering we sort of put ourselves in this position as well, which is another entire conversation to have, really. But I just think that this will wake us up again. If you look at the comparison, I mean, our 3-point percentage over the regular season was ridiculous.
I think it was 41%. 41% for the Clippers.
Madness.
Yeah.
We had Marcus Morris hitting 47%, Luke Kennard 45%, Reggie Jackson 43%. Like, we're not going to want to go into the paint and deal with Monsieur Gobert.
Yeah.
So I think the 3-point percentage is going to come up. I think we're going to beat the Jazz, but I think it will be in 7 again. I think it's going to be a tough series.
I think I'm actually in agreement with Gabo, and I was thinking actually about it, and earlier I'd said the Clippers, but I don't know. I think Clippers are just not there mentally. I think Kawhi did fantastic, but something is just not right. And I think as things progress, there's gonna be more blame game between themselves.
Yep.
And I think also Ty Lue's a very overrated coach. I think his plateau is is an assistant coach for a good team. I don't think he should be a head coach of any team. So to me, I go Mavs, and then that means Mavs versus Jazz. Jazz, at the end of the day, people have forgotten they're the number 1 seed. They've been resting for a very long time, so they're going to be feeling way more fresh. And they've played obviously regular season isn't a great indication of anything, but they have played the Mavs 3 times and they've won 2 out of those 3. And one game was fairly convincing by like a 20-point blowout, or like something like that, like maybe 18, 20-point blowout. So to me, I say Mavs go through, and then it's to me the Jazz as the number 1 seed continuing their journey.
The Jazz have only made it to the conference finals once in the last 21 years, and then they lost against the Spurs. So to me, that just screams. I like to look at the history. I know, we got like the Suns here, and we're going to talk about the Suns in a second. That they're also making history right now. But to me, the last 5 years they lost against the Rockets, the Warriors, the Rockets, the Nuggets, and the Grizzlies. But every time in the conference semifinals, they only won 1 game. They lost in straight 4 games against the Warriors. They won once against the Rockets, and then they lost 4 times against the Lakers as well. So to me, they seem to always get past the first round, and then they seem to kind of like fade away in the second round. So it'll be definitely interesting. So let's go on to our second matchup.
I will. Can I before we just
yep.
before we squeeze in? If my Clippers do let me down, and if the Mavs do actually win on Sunday, I'm just gonna say I'm taking Jazz. Jazz are gonna blow out.
Oh really?
Mavs.
I would go with it. I would go with
4-1.
Dallas. If Clippers don't win, Dallas will win. So whoever wins tomorrow night, I'm
Oh,
taking against Jazz.
okay.
I just
Jazz
don't.
loses anyway.
I've watched the Jazz a lot. I've watched them a lot against the Rockets, and even when the Rockets played small ball with no center, and it was just James Harden, Rudy Gobert does nothing. I've never seen Rudy Gobert play well in the playoffs. And the last 2 times have both been against the Rockets. So, from experience, I don't think
maybe this will be the year for the.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. So on to Suns versus Denver. We did talk about this in a previous episode, talking about the Lakers against the Suns. So Suns versus Denver. We've got the mighty Chris Paul and Devin Booker against Jokic and just Jokic, I think. And so I'm taking the Suns in this one just because I think we talked about this previously. Suns' firepower is absurd. They got 2 or 3 players that can go off for 20+ points at any given day. Denver only really have one fantastic elite player, and I just don't see, across 7 games, let's just say go 7 games, being that one guy. And I've seen James Harden do it for his entire career at the Rockets. It does take a toll. Every game that goes an extra game, it makes them just a little bit more tired, and I think the Suns just have a little bit more than Denver are going to give. So Gabo, what's your take on it?
Yeah, so I'm gonna stick to what I said, in our previous conversation. I want to be the bold 5-game Suns 4-1.
Yep.
I don't see it going any other way. One of the things that I may have not mentioned before that I will bring out is, if the Suns are gonna get stopped, it's not gonna be here. They just beat the Lakers. It's gonna be a big morale boost. Taking down LeBron.
Yep.
It's always something that the young kids aspire to. So Devin Booker's just gonna be on fire. Having that structure and rigid with Chris Paul, I just don't see it going any other way. And just as a fan, I'd love to see, a whole Luka Doncic, Devin Booker. I've been claiming about how these two are interesting to watch, so can't wait for that. So 4-1, Suns take the board.
Would be quite the result. I'm also taking Suns. I don't think it's going to be quite as big of a victory as you're saying, Gabo. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I could see it going 6 or 7. I just don't think the Nuggets have enough. I don't think they're good enough defensively. I just realized they also have old man Paul Millsap on their team, and that's never a good sign. So I just don't. And he's getting like 15 minutes a game at 35 years old. I think Suns are going to take it, and it will be 4-2.
I gotta stick with my Nuggets. I mean, I think the Suns. Look, I think the Suns are a good team, and I'm definitely, if it's gonna be up to Game 6 or Game 7, but I think it's, the performance that they showed against the Lakers is not as much of a testimony to how good they are, but more so how bad the Lakers are. The Lakers finished in 7th seed. LeBron was injured. AD was in and out of injuries prior to that. Everyone else was absolutely terrible. It's not like they beat an elite, fully functional, well-machined Lakers team. They beat a very dysfunctional, primarily injured Lakers team. And and once you have that in mind, you will realize that the Suns, I don't want to say overrated in that regard, but there's a lot of hype around them that if you just look at it subjectively, they beat the number 7 seed. That's not a great achievement. Like, a lot of the times previously, the Spurs usually ended up as the number 7 seed, and no one took them seriously in the playoffs. And the same thing should happen with the Lakers, right? They were injured. They were old. They had dysfunctional players, and so with that, the MVP Jokic, I think he's phenomenal. That to me, it's Game 6 or Game 7 Nuggets.
So what you're saying is the sunset now. Sunset is now.
That was almost so good. Almost so good.
Almost.
When you try your best.
All right, awesome. I mean, now I think we get into the more interesting picks here. For the first time in the longest time, the Eastern Conference is way more exciting than the Western Conference to me. The first game we have Philly versus Atlanta, Ben Simmons versus Trae Young. Trae Young put on an amazing clinic against the Knicks fans, shut them up. It was amazing. I think Trae Young deserves kind of like series of the year. Playing in Madison Square Garden and shutting up all those Knicks fans was just remarkable. If you're a Knicks fan, I don't care. I'm not sorry. This one's really difficult.
Enemies already, man. We're getting all the Knicks fans. We're getting haters already.
I'm sorry.
Exactly who to shout out now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is a really difficult one for me because my head definitely says Philly, just because of Embiid, Ben Simmons. They have a very, very deep roster. Daryl Morey did a great job, but my heart says I want Trae Young to win this one so badly to continue the Cinderella story. Similar with Devin Booker, you just can't not hate Trae Young unless you're, a Knicks fan. So I'm gonna go with Philly, but I'm gonna go all the way 7 games. It's gonna be a close one. I think Trae Young is gonna be hot at home. He's gonna be carrying those boys on his back as usual. But I do think Philly are gonna edge this one out. Comfortably in their home series. I think the away bit's gonna be a bit of a problem, but Game 7, I think as long as Philly stays healthy, they're a very difficult to beat team. But Ben Simmons and Embiid historically are very poor at keeping themselves healthy. We've already seen Embiid being injured, so if I was a Philly fan, I'd be worried. But on paper, Philly do look stronger, so I'm gonna be Gabo shaking his head as a Philly fan there. So I want to go over to Gabo. Gabo, what do you say? Tell me what's happening.
What's happening in my head? Well, look, I Trae Young did have a wonderful series. I can't be more than happy for him. But I will rain on him parade. That's ending now.
Right.
I think there's a game that the Hawks are going to take from the Sixers is going to be tonight's. I do feel maybe Embiid will be sat down. Is it confirmed that he's going to play? I don't think it's confirmed yet.
Check.
Right?
I think it's still day to day.
I think it's day to day. I think he'll sit down. They'll see how it goes without, and I think the Hawks will take that. But after that, I just see 4 straight wins for Philly. So I'm putting them at win in 5. It's just Embiid, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player. So I'm really excited to see what happens. Dwight Howard going up against his former team, although he plays in pretty much every game.
I was gonna say that's quite a lot.
Really. I'm going full on. Philly is a tough team to beat right now, and hopefully there's a chance that we go all the way.
So it does say that Embiid's status for the playoff series is unknown. So it's a cartilage tear in his knee, which doesn't sound good to me. That sounds pretty serious. I also do want to touch on one thing that Seb knows all too well, is that Doc Rivers is very notorious for getting to this area of the playoffs and getting absolutely smashed, even if they are 2-0 up against the Rockets. I also do want to bring...
I totally didn't hear that.
I do want to bring that up. That's why I do have a feeling Atlanta, might have a sneaky suspicion they might get through. So Seb, what do you think?
I do not share your suspicions. I'm not gonna lie. I think a lot of this depends on Embiid. I'm gonna assume that he doesn't play tonight, sort of with Gabo, and then he's healthy from obviously going forward. If that changes, that could obviously change the prediction. But I think the combination of Embiid, Simmons, and Toby, plus you've got Seth's shooting.
Yeah.
I just think you've got Matisse Thybulle coming off the bench if you want to be even more stupidly good at defending. You've also got Danny Green, who he's not quite the player he was, but he's a good defender too. I just think that he can throw all these bodies at the Hawks. It will be very interesting to see what Trae Young does. He's had a sick playoff so far. I think it's going to be a really interesting series, but I think Sixers in 6.
I think Atlanta remind me a little bit of Dallas in the way that when Trae Young's not on the floor, things don't seem to be going that
Falls
well.
Apart,
that's the kind of way they really, really rely on Trae Young. So Omar, what are you thinking?
So to me, the Hawks are trying to copy the Golden State blueprint, right? You have
Right.
hyper scoring point guard. You just have a pure defensive kind of front court, and then just like the rest of the backcourt are they're just there to kind of help facilitate the rest of the
Right.
offense. Um, so naturally, just cartilage tears, that normal recovery for non-athletes, people who don't have the state-of-the-art physio and healthcare facilities is 3 to 6 weeks. But say with Embiid, being in the NBA and everything, it takes him a week or even a week and a half, and not just to do a recovery. I'm not even talking about like you're back to 100%.
Yep.
A week and a half, realistically, is 2 or 3 games to miss, right? And the thing with cartilage tears, you don't want to aggravate them because that small tear could be a full rupture, and then you're in actual serious,
Right.
summer long
Doo-doo.
recovery. And so, with that in mind, with the fact that Trae Young is playing phenomenal basketball, and just the Hawks in general, I mean, they had a massive draft hole over the past 2 years, so they have a lot of like young players who are just full of energy. I'm not saying they're good or bad; they just have a lot of young players who are like keen to perform. Um, and I'm not just saying this because I want to be like kind of the black sheep and go against you guys. I genuinely believe the Hawks have the potential, and I think everyone can agree they have the potential to win it. I think Ben Simmons is a very good player, but assuming he plays point guard and not power forward, even then, like he needs to be stuck like glue to Trae Young, who's way quicker than Ben Simmons. He might be smaller, but he's way quicker. And that guy can shoot from the logo. So like even like unless Ben Simmons is gonna play full court press, which we all know he's not gonna play full court press the whole game, like Trae Young is gonna see opportunities. So to me, Hawks in 7.
Nice. I like that. I like that bold prediction. No, I was thinking the same, but I just, if Embiid is healthy, it's very difficult, I think, for Clint Capella to match
My
up with him.
assumption is all under my Hawks in 7 is under the assumption that Embiid is gonna be out for more than one game, which I
Right.
think he will be.
Yeah.
And like he'll be out for 2 or 3 games, and I think that will just give the Hawks enough momentum to kind of see the round.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we go into the big boy, something that I would love to see as the final, or at least the conference final, but unfortunately we're seeing it in the semifinal. I do think my pick is going to be the eventual champions, NBA champions, Nets versus Bucks. I'm going to be taking the Nets all the way. I just do not see anyone coping with Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, 3 totally unguardable players. The Bucks do have Giannis, who looked absolutely terrible the first series. His free throws, he cannot make a free throw anymore. I don't know what happened to that, but he I think he went 0 for 10 in one of the games. But
you call for that 10-second violation.
10-second violation. Now the NBA and TNT have like a Giannis countdown timer from 10 seconds or from 0 seconds to 10 seconds. One of the times it went up to 12 seconds and the referees never called it. So I think this series they're going to be looking at him with that. I don't think that's much of a game changer. It's more of like a meme at this point. But, the Nets' firepower is just insane. James Harden at the Rockets by himself would take the Rockets to the conference finals. You add Kevin Durant, you add Kyrie Irving to that. It is just, I don't see, this is a true super team. I say Nets in 5.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Easy,
oh boy,
easy
oh boy.
win, easy win.
Actually, you forgot also actually about Blake Griffin too. I mean, the guy is having
Yeah.
a resurgence to dunk again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So-
they have really really good secondary players too. I'm just talking about the big 3, but the support players, the supporting cast is 100% there. This is not a Lakers team where it's LeBron and Anthony Davis and a bunch of mediocre players. This is a solid team throughout. If they stay healthy, James Harden traditionally is a very healthy player. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are both iffy. I think if the 3 stay healthy, the 3 main core stay healthy, I don't see anyone coping with them, because who has 3 superstar defenders to fight against them? James Harden's going to be playing against a second string team as well when they come off the bench, or Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. There's always going to be someone on that court who is, potentially a top 5 player in the league. So I just don't see the Bucks. As soon as Giannis goes off, it's going to be a case of like when Luka or Trae Young goes off, it's just going to fall apart. Gabo, what do you think?
I'll just make it quick, and I think it's tough. I don't think it's gonna be a short one. This is probably the series that I'll say goes all the way. The seven games.
Yep.
But and I really do think the Bucks can take it. I just realized that the Nets have the home court advantage in Game 7, so
Yep.
that's gonna be tough. I don't see those big three ever letting the Bucks beat them at home court there. But
Yeah.
then again, we've mentioned before, is home court really alive or dead? So
Yeah.
look, Antetokounmpo had a rough series, but I think he'll step up. I do see the Bucks taking this one. It's gonna be back and forth. I don't see it like a big comeback, like 3-1 comeback or anything like that. Just one game going all the way back and forth, and
Yep.
eventually, I'll go with Bucks in 7.
Oh my God, Bucks in the 7.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy. I just don't see that happening. But yeah, Sam, what's happening? What do you think? What's going on in your head?
I didn't expect that. It's very difficult to pick against a team whose top 3 players, when you add up their points per game, just on their own, are scoring 85 points. Like, that's just insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
And then because you've got those 3 players that are garnering so much attention, someone like Joe Harris.
Joe Harris has been
who
playing really well.
is shooting 52% from 3. Can just sit out in the corner, wait for James Harden to make one of his 11 assists a night, and then he's scoring 4 or 5 threes.
Yeah, he's
Like
played.
you said, Blake
I think
Griffin suddenly.
in the playoffs, he's like averaging like 20 points or something. Joe Harris, which is insane.
13.4,
That's
but
13.
that's still like
13. I think he had a 20-point
solid,
game
yeah.
or something. Then yeah.
Yeah. So it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to pick against them, and I don't think I can. I mean, I do think the Bucks have maybe a little bit more depth. I think Chris Middleton is still being a great second fiddle to Giannis. They brought in Drew Holiday, who is a vast improvement point guard wise, and who is good defensively. I don't think it's going to be. I think Nets in 7. Nets in 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
Omar.
Well, I mean, look, Nets is the sort of team when you're playing 2K, like my GM mode, that you're trying to build. Like, you literally
Right.
try to finesse all the trades to try to
true.
make this team that they have right now. And even then, you still fail because no one really understands how the salary cap really works.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, you have Kevin Durant, one of the most elite players. You have Kyrie Irving, one of the most dynamic players. You have James Harden, who is always in the MVP conversation every single year. As Seb was saying, them 3 usually just do 85 a night. To me, it's Nets in 4. To me, it's a clean sweep.
Oof.
Giannis is not a leader.
Wow.
He's not actually that solid defensively. He's just a big, tall dude. But you look at his defensive stats. For someone of his size and his even reach, you'd expect he would dominate. No, for someone of that someone of that level, you would expect more. I'm not saying what he does isn't bad. I'm saying you would expect more. There's a difference.
This is
before
about this one multiple defensive player of the years, no?
Giannis.
And I'm talking
I
postseason.
don't know.
Also, I don't
I don't think he's won Defensive Player of the Year, has he?
So the sweeper gets
2019-20 defensive player of the year. Sorry, only one, but he's
Yeah, that
he's
season doesn't
won
count, by the way. COVID season.
Well, yeah, no.
Lol.
So, yeah, to me, it's Nets on 4. I don't honestly. It's to me, it's not even a conversation. I think it's gonna be I think Nets probably had a harder time against the Celtics than they will against the Bucks. At least Celtics mentally. First of all, they have Brad Stevens, who's a phenomenal coach. They had Tatum, who was on fire. Like, they probably gave them more of a hard time than the Bucks will. So to me, Nets in 4.
We care to make it interesting, since it's 3 on against me.
Yeah,
A little YouTube Instagram challenge. If the Bucks win, maybe Dan has to put something about like Harden sucks online.
No way. I'd be sooner jumping out my window than doing that. I have so much faith in if I was not a poor unemployed student, I'd put $1,000 on the Nets winning easily. But I have rent to pay.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed hearing us ramble about sports, check out our socials at the description below. For more content, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys around later.